A perfect cup of coffee. How many versions can exist? How many stories are behind the coffees used to obtain it? This is our story. This is our version of the cherished cup. We, the partners of Yauco Selecto Estate Coffee, invite you to accompany us, exporters Jaime Fortuño and Susan Seitzer, on a personal tour to the places and the people that give our coffee its personality. Our journey begins with our arrival to the high altitudes of the southwestern mountains of the island of Puerto Rico. High above the Caribbean Sea lies a spectacle of nature where water springs life to its fullest year-round. Puerto Rico, a United States Commonwealth since 1898, has been a coffee producer since the 18th century. Corsican immigrants settled the Yauco region in the early 1800s, and by the end of the century were selling a prized bean to the European market. A beautiful past indeed, yet more important days await us. It's 5:30 in the morning. We have arrived early to Hacienda San Pedro, property of Yauco Selecto partner Roberto Atienza. A chorus of awakening roosters and the illuminated Taino Indian Museum give us our first welcome. The pleasant temperature is evident, perfect for growing coffee. Quickly the sun is here and we begin the climb. Our first objective, to study the growing and care of coffee trees outside the harvest. Roberto's farm dominates a beautiful view of the valley. Amidst the beauty lie clearly demarked parcels of planted coffee trees, all growing perpendicularly regardless of the inclination of the mountain. Year-round care is necessary to ensure healthy and fruitful trees. Thus, each area is evaluated for its particular needs. Curiously, the youngest planting area lies just below a natural forest which Roberto has preserved at the top of the mountain. Formerly coffee fields, traces of the cobblestone mule trails used 100 years ago to bring the coffee down the mountain are present. The forest attracts rain and constitutes an important habitat for the region's ecosystem. These coffee trees were planted a year ago after spending a year at the nursery. They are not expected to produce fruit until year 3. A tree's production will increase until year 5, with production lagging a bit after this point. Given proper pruning and care, a coffee tree can have a lifespan of over 40 years. Adequate spacing at time of planting is essential to allow mature trees to coexist. Like children, they are more susceptible to diseases. Erosion control practices such as Farm Ugly, where weeds and fallen leaves remain between rows of trees, preserves the topsoil where 90% of the roots lie. We now meet Roberto.
This coffee parcel is around 8 years old. We can see that even after the crop, the trees maintain a good appearance and leaf growth. This is due to the care taken in carefully picking its beans.
Competition for sun and space among trees brings the need for pruning.
This is so because trees continue to grow and the coffee parcel gets more dense. This requires us, when it becomes necessary, to prune the tree. To prune is to cut the tree at around 18 inches above the soil and wait for a new trunk to grow and eventually new bean production to begin.
A visit to the 60-foot rock carved centuries ago by the Taino Indians that inhabited the region is our final stop at Hacienda San Pedro. Their presence still guards the treasures of these mountains. On to Hacienda Santa Ana. At over 3,000 feet above the Caribbean Sea lies Hacienda Santa Ana, property of Yauco Selecto partner Ignacio Pintado. Over 400 acres of coffee trees are in production. Rain is abundant, over 100 inches per year. Coffee has been grown in these Yauco mountains for centuries. With traditional hospitality, Yauco Selecto partner and master grower Miguel Lopez welcomes Jaime and Susan. The key elements that will create a particular taste are coffee varieties used, type of soil, climate conditions, and the care and processing of the beans. As we walk the farm with Miguel Lopez, we will study some of these elements.
It's a typical day of the picking season. A little bit of clouds, it has been raining, and it's time to pick the coffee. Yauco's weather is like this. It's perfect for coffee. This is what we're talking about.
The soils in the farms are known as Alonso and Malaya Arcioso. They are clay-based and have an ideal pH for growing coffee.
These soils are suited for the cultivation of this type of coffee. The soil is completely granular. We call it sweet soil. It's ideal.
There are as many varieties of Arabica coffee trees as there are types of apples. The choice a farmer makes will have a profound effect on the final product. We seek varieties that grow to a uniform size with an abundance of lateral branches for good bean growth and good leaf regeneration. This will ensure a healthy tree. A good root system and the ability to withstand disease is important. An ideal example of our preference is the Bourbon variety. Let's join Miguel and Jaime in their search for other selected varieties.
Miguelón, what variety of coffee tree is this? This is known as Caturra. You can see that the nodes are closer together, and the amount of beans per node is much bigger. Look at these branches up here. It's beautiful. It's also ripe. This is a fully grown tree. It has the optimal height. I believe that we will, if not this year, the next, get ready for pruning. What about the release of the beans from the branches? Is it easy? Is it difficult? In Caturra it's harder than with the Típica variety. And since the nodes are fuller, in this case no, because they're all mature. But if we take this case, to take the beans out is more complicated. Let's put it this way. To take the mature beans out of this branch is more difficult. It needs an experienced picker. There, we can see a tree of the Típica, or Puerto Rico variety. See? Well, the knobs are truly different in this case. Look at the separation. How do these beans come off? Is it more difficult? It's easier. They come easier to the hand. It requires much less effort.
Now that we're familiar with the science of creating an ideal coffee farm, let's see true artisans at work. The template Mornings of Winter serve as a scenario for Jalco Selecto's team of coffee pickers to work their magic. Jalco Selecto pickers earn a fair wage representative of United States labor laws. Pickers will cover each parcel of the farm several times to ensure picking the beans at their peak. Most varieties mature to a rich red color, others varieties will ripen to a golden yellow. A skilled picker can collect upwards of 15 almuds of coffee per day, each almud representing 28 pounds of coffee fruit or cherry. Our terrain has steep angles, thus making the picking process a test of skill, balance, and grace. Spring showers turn buds into flowers. In the process of natural selection, only 25% of those flowers produce mature cherry. As demonstrated by Jaime, there are cases when only one bean is formed. This type of bean is round and known as a pea berry. The typical cherry will house 2 beans. From the same toffee tree, we can get pea berries, doubles, and the rare triple. We bid farewell to Hacienda Santa Ana and accompany the picked beans to the wet beneficio. Roberto has just received the lot to be processed. Quick delivery to the wet beneficio has preserved the freshness of the bean and eliminated the possibility of unwanted fermentation. The first step is to weigh the coffee. The volume of coffee used in a batch will be recorded. The batch will be assigned a lot number and yield and quality marks will be granted. The mechanical part of the process starts with the release of cherries into the receiving tank. Quickly the cherries are transported to water-filled channels. Water not only cleans the beans, but is used to move the coffee through the different stages. Once the lot is processed, this water will be rich with nutrients. An elaborate purification system will return the water to its natural purity prior to releasing it to the river. To respect nature is to preserve our coexistence with it for future generations. Any unwanted debris is removed using a waterfall system. Only beans get to make the jump. Now they are ready for the separator. Using the power of water, gravity, and machine, mature cherries are passed through a giant metal cylinder and any green cherries diverted to the left channel. As the cherries are pushed through the rectangular holes in the cylinders, only mature cherries are soft enough to release their beans. At this stage, the mucilage-covered beans will continue the process. The small amount of green cherry that might have come in with the red is too hard to go through the separator. Roberto shows how these beans are separated and sent to another system. No longer in the running for Jalco Selecto, these beans will be used for commercial coffee. The cherries are removed and accumulated for later use as natural fertilizer. Roberto explains the next step.
Then we make a first separation through the classification channel, where through the use of flotation, we separate the pulp that might remain with the coffee, any hollow beans, and then we have our good coffee truly separated.
The coffee is then sent to the humid classifier for an additional screening. The mucilage will be removed and the coffee cleaned and ready for drying. Careful monitoring is critical to obtaining a perfectly clean product. Once it is fully cleaned, the coffee is sent to giant drying drums or bombos to lower the humidity to the desired 9 to 11%. The drying temperature used is no higher than the human bodies. This means a slow and even drying of the full lot. Drying can take between 48 and 60 hours. The climatological conditions will have a strong influence on the length of the process. 1 hour too long and the lot can be over-dried, thus out of consideration for Jalco Selecto. This means long sleepless nights for Roberto and the partners, guarding the coffee with the care a mother grants her newborn. Regular tests are conducted to determine the humidity levels of the beans. As the coffee dries, the remaining mucilage falls from the drums. It creates a sensation of beige snow. The lot has received a name and a number, IPG24J. Its humidity level is ideal. The green bean is still protected in a hardened shell called parchment or pergamino. Roberto and Miguel have tasted the coffee and are satisfied. It's time to ship it to the dry beneficio. Down the mountain and closer to port is the dry beneficio, property of Jalco Selecto partner Cafe Rico. Rico, a powerhouse in Puerto Rico's coffee exports into the 1960s, is run by the Jimenez and Fernandez family under the leadership of its president, Don Quique Jimenez. They have dedicated their resources to revitalizing our coffee exports under the Jalco Selecto name. Lots prepared for Jalco Selecto at the wet beneficio are received. Each bag bears the lot number, humidity level, and date of processing. A sample is carefully taken from the lot. It is sent for cupping at our cupping laboratory. There, certified cupper and agronomist J. Orlando Fabre evaluates each lot. Appearance, size, aroma, taste, and cup presence are evaluated and carefully recorded. No lot will be shipped bearing the Jalco Selecto name without his approval. To accept a lot, Mr. Fabre will look for something special.
When I give a coffee the Jalco Selecto classification, I must find in it certain unique characteristics. The bean must have an intense green appearance. It must roast to an even roast, showing strong character. The cup taste must be clean without defects, with good acidity and great body. It must have a creamy taste, and it must be pleasant to the stomach. These are the reasons why Jalco Selecto is the best coffee in the world.
4 approved lots will be processed together in a batch. At the dry beneficio, the coffee will be removed from the parchment and graded by size, density, appearance, and shape. Ultimately, it will be electronically sorted and prepared for bagging. After an intense and arduous process, only 3 out of every 10 beans originally picked will bear the Jalco Selecto name. The coffee is now ready for shipment to clients on 5 continents around the world. There is no bigger joy for the Jalco Selecto family than to see our coffee in stores, restaurants, cafes, and homes around the globe. We produce a very limited amount of coffee per year. We strive to satisfy the demands of true coffee lovers in their search for a perfect cup.
Truly, this is a source of pride for me. It's something that we do because we want to. Because we love growing coffee. We love the land and the satisfactions that we get from working with the coffee and being able to produce a product that was no longer grown for export in Puerto Rico. This really makes us happy and fulfilled.
As you enjoy that cup of our beloved brew, we invite you to transport yourself to the sights and sounds of our world. Better yet, come and visit. You are always welcome.